live in five, four, three, two, one. So yeah, on the last video, I was on the last video. Now, welcome, wizard, warrior, wanderer, and wayfarer. I hope you are doing well this 5th of July, 2023. This is the Live Drive Jive Archive with your host, Fredo Francis Louis Aristeas of the OTA. Welcome. And Grand Wizard of the Esoteric Order of Dagon, self-appointed, and Pope of Discordia. Got quite a few titles. The predominant title, though, is just predominant title. Supervisor of Foreign Talent at a bilingual academy. That's my gig, man. Streaming to YouTube is for fun. For shits, what do they say? Shits and giggles. I've never liked that expression. I'm not gonna say that. For fun. I do it for fun. For a sense of community and connecting with other like-minded individuals wandering throughout the cosmic byways. So yes, indeed. On the last video, I was talking about how in traditional Chinese wives' tales, that ancient wisdom that gets handed down from mother to daughter throughout the generations, there's an expression, an idiomatic expression, that everything in the universe appears in threes and fives. So if something bad happens, they'll say, I forget the exact. Uh, this is one I learned a long time ago, back when I was in college. So a couple of decades ago, I haven't thought about it, and it just appeared to me because one guy made an idiot move, and then like a dozen guys have made idiot moves now, and so everyone's basically driving like shit this morning, and they've got their heads straight up their ass. So Mary Moon would probably know the astrological reason as to why that is. Uh, the full moon was in Capricorn, and I believe our moon should be in Aquarius now. Is that correct? Capricorn to Aquarius? Yeah. So there isn't any reason that I can think of why an Aquarian moon would cause so much chaos. And it's not chaos, it's just stupidity on other people's parts. But Russian Lad had joined the chat, and he was pointing out the curiosity that when you're doing magic, it doesn't work unless you let go. Like, you have to formulate the intent, but then you have to let go of thinking about and pondering the outcome. And I was going to tell him I didn't know how much, I don't know how advanced he is along on the path of wizardry, but that's like all throughout the literature. That's one of the caveats. Aleister Crowley was famous for having said, "Do not lust for results." I believe that was his expression, and it may have been something he learned in a dusty old tome sitting around in one of the book depositories that he hung out in as a young man. I believe his mentor was McGregor Mathers, so he might have learned that from Mathers. It doesn't seem like he was under Mathers' tutelage for long, though. Maybe only a couple of years, and he rose through the ranks pretty quickly of the Golden Dawn. And then there was a schism in the Golden Dawn. I think partially due to Crowley and partially due to Arthur Edward Wyatt. Funny, I don't know Aleister Crowley's middle name. I know William Wayne Westcott and Arthur Edward Wyatt, and a lot of these guys go by their full three name moniker. But Crowley, Mr. Crowley, what went on in your head? Oh, Mr. Charming, did you talk to the dead? You fooled all the people with magic as you waited on Satan's call. I think that's how it goes. I don't remember. That's a good song, though. Black Sabbath, they did a good job, man. Who's the lead singer of Black Sabbath? Doesn't even matter. Ozzy Osbourne. See, Ozzy just went by. I guess guys that achieve real high level spiritual power just go by one name, right? One single name, like Prince, Madonna, even Lady Gaga. She's not as high level as those other cats, right? Because she's got two. Frank Monday, second class citizen compared to Crowley. But anyway, A-lister Crowley, uh, he warned us: do not lust for results, right? Let go of the magic. So, in the way that I came to discover it, it's in three Latin expressions that encompass grander ideas. There's volantia, decreeism, and paucism. And it's the paucism part that's the hardest for most people to grok. So, volantia is the unperturbed, uninterrupted, calm, cool, gradual, analog focus and disciplining of the guardian at the first gate, the critical factor, your intention. Doing the sigil, putting down the decree, that's decreeism. Evoking, invoking, commanding into being, using the magical voice. That's the decreeism part. And then paucism is the letting go and being receptive to strike when the iron's hot, right? It's the waiting, it's the poise, it's the specter like abeyance of letting go and knowing that your work has been done. But you got to do the work. You got to focus on the intention. You've got to decree it. You have to command it into being. And then you have to poise yourself to pounce like a waiting tiger. I've been practicing this basic magical formula for so long that it's become intrinsic to my being, and doing like Grant Morrison, getting results pretty quickly, like almost in the flash of an eye. Uh, but there's still dangers, right? You still walk along the path of the great work. But I figured it out a long time ago. In fact, I'll tell you the story of when I figured it out. I was like 13 years old, and I had picked up Arthur Edward Wyatt's book. Now, its original title was quite controversial, you know, and sensational. And I think he was engaging in sensationalism when he published it under this title. But it was in a black paper bound cover, and it was printed in 1910, and it said The Book of Black Magic. And I was like, ooh, that's the shit right there. And I opened it up, and it was exactly the opposite. It was not a book on black magic. It was a book on ceremonial magic. And the whole thing was filled with prayers to God for doing magic, for interacting with diamoniacal forces, with demons and spirits and intelligences and stuff. But none of it was like, like you weren't worshiping any of these things. You were dredging up these spirits, or seizing these spirits, or communicating with these spirits in order to do God's work. So it should have been called the Christian Book of Dominating Demons or something like that, because it was all about self-discovery. But there were some shamanistic and voodooistic aspects of, like, some dark spells in there. But they were all done, like every spell started with not doing anything without the protection of God and in God's name. So when you crafted all your magical implements and stuff, it was all very, very religious, very Christian. But the cover said The Book of Black Magic, but then the original title, I believe, was The Complete Book of Ceremonial Magic. And so I thought, they just put that cover on there and that title in order to sell more copies, right? It had nothing to do with the reality of the cover did not reflect the content. So yeah, welcome back, Russian Lad. Good to see you, man. We got cut off there by the failing internets. Hey, Miss Mary Moon's out there in Happy Land. Miss Mary Moon, I was just talking about you. I was talking to Russian Lad, and I told him that everyone was acting like idiots on the road this morning on my drive here into work. And I thought, Mary probably knows why. I thought the full moon was in Capricorn, right? And I believe the full moon has already moved into Aquarius. And so I was wondering if there was anything going on in our astro weather. Yeah, Aquarius. Yeah. I was wondering if there was anything going on in our astrological weather that would create people like just like one after another making mistakes on the road and pulling idiot moves, on the highway, braking and pulling in front of me in order to get on the on ramp. I don't know what's up with the super moon, full moon fever in general. Okay. But Russian Lad had pointed out an interesting curiosity, a peculiarity with magic, that the magic doesn't typically work. Like, we're talking about mind magic, like your wish is my command, and summoning the spirits and the fairies and all of your intention, the wizard's will, in order to bring about some affect in the prime material plane. And he said it doesn't really usually happen until you stop thinking about it, until you let it go. And I told him that the way I learned it through the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor material is that there are three Latin words to describe this threefold process. There's volantia, which I interpret as E in Chinese, intention, the wizard's will. There's decreeism, or the magical formula, which means the process of invoking, evoking, commanding, doing sigils, doing ceremony. This is the decreeism part. It's the second part. So you start with E. You could start with the intention as like a form of gentle meditation. And I told him Valantia means the unperturbed, gentle, gradual, full focus of the wizard's intention. That's called Volantia, the volition, right? Then the decreeism, to make a decree, to command, to use the magical voice and command something into being, or command certain patterns to align themselves, right? Mary would say you're just waking up to astrological influences, and those starry influences do play a role, a very large role. And as again, I'm a I'm a novice practitioner of astrology. I am trying to study a little more. But so Volantia Decreeism, and then the last part of it is the hardest part. The last part right here is the hardest part, part three. And I was trying to describe this one in great detail so that I don't know, so that I mean, maybe Russian Lad posted that comment in the last chat because he's already figured it out. But it seemed to me like maybe he was getting, trying to stimulate me to talk about it a little bit. So I've compiled this system into a very basic chart of the human body with the three Dantians, right? The celestial Dantian, terrestrial, and infernal, and connected them with Sigmund Freud's work through the id, ego, and superego, right? And I've connected them with a lot of other things that come in threes, right? Everything comes in threes and fives. Yeah. So good job, Russian Lad. Thank you for that, and thank you for your comment on my video the other day, man. I appreciate that. When I get a comment, and thank you for your comment on the video the other day, Miss Mary Moon. Um, I appreciate that. And hey, look, it looks like Owen's out there too. Owen, Owen, your last name is Ryan, isn't it? Owen Ryan, out in Dublin, Ireland. No, you're not as far north as Dublin. It seems like you were south of Dublin. I remember the town. You told me a song about it. I don't remember the name though, because I haven't seen some of you guys in so long, man. I haven't been broadcasting. YouTube's been giving me strike after strike after strike. In fact, if I don't make it without getting another strike for a week, then I'm gone forever. Yeah, Saving Private Ryan. That's right. I'm in the danger zone right now, so I need to watch my mouth. All right. I need to be hardcore self-censoring and walking on eggshells and being very careful of the YouTube Karens right now because I would have to be reborn as something else. I don't know. Maybe I would try to start up a Frank Monday channel again or something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't like to think about it because it creates a lot of anxiety, you know. Um, yeah, so I don't want to worry myself about it. Um, but with that said, as in the spirit of Rudolf Steiner, who I tend to emulate. Yeah, it's the 5th of July here this morning. Yeah. Um, Rudolf Steiner, who I tend to emulate, is that all ideas should be brought to fruition, especially when you're going through spiritual discourse. So, with those three principles in mind, right, I figured this stuff out when I was like 13. I was talking about this book by A. White, right, the guy who wrote the tarot deck, the most ubiquitous tarot deck in the world. Um, he financed it and he put it together, but Pamela Coleman Smith is the one who actually painted the pictures on the tarot. So the Rider White Tarot Smith, Rider White Smith Rider Smith White Rider Tarot. Rider's the company that published it. Arthur Edward White's the guy who compiled it, and Pamela Coleman Smith is the one who did the paintings for it. I like to cite my sources there. Anyway, the Book of Black Magic. And when you open the cover, it's not a book of black magic, it's the complete book of ceremonial magic. And I picked that motherfucker up when I was like 13 from Bookstar or Barnes and Noble or who knows where I got it, but I got it. And I had it in my backpack and I was like, yeah, I'm a fucking dark magician. You know, I was listening to Slayer, you know, learn the sacred words of praise, hell, Satan, Satan. And I open it up and it's like, in all things, call upon God and do nothing without the consent and approbation of God and his angels. And I was like, what the fuck? This isn't a book of black magic, but I got into it and I'm like, okay, so I'm not a little demon king. I'm in fact a warrior of the light and I'm using angels to protect me. And I thought, okay, I can dig this. But I got into it and I read all these spells and I thought, man, this seems like a lot of fucking work, you know, cutting off a willow branch with a dagger that you've made yourself by hand, you know, when the moon was in a certain phase with, you know, Mercury conjunct with Venus and all of this. And at the crack of dawn, you know, invoke these sacred Hebrew names, you know, God, Adonai, Vegubra, Leolam, and then cut the branch off. And that's the only way you could make a magic wand. And I was like, horse shit, man. This stuff seems crazy, you know. Seize a black cat in its third year and force it into a boiling cauldron and with a lid, you know, a boiling cauldron with a lid. And every time it screams, curse it with Yad He Vahe, you know, and Adonai. And then, you know, remove its femur bone after having boiled it for 10 hours, you know, naked in the full moonlight and having cursed it. And I'm like, what the fuck? That sounds like a lot of work. And so but the results in the spells were fantastical. You know, have three maidens appear before your door, you know, at midnight, you know, to have wild, passionate sex or orgiastic sex. And I'm like, I want that. I want the sex. I'm like, but I'm not gonna seize a little black cat and boil it to death. You know, I'm not gonna go out here and cut a willow branch and you know run around like a goofball in a linen robe. And I thought there's something missing. There's something missing. I'm missing something. And it struck in my mind. Yeah, I was a teenager. And I thought, okay, if magic is real, and I think it is real, and I think all of these ceremonial and ritual practices are probably important. I said, but they're just somehow establishing parameters for your focus, for your intention. Because I was already learning Kung Fu at this point. I knew all about, or I thought I knew all about focus and intent. And I thought, if I just go through these, if I visualize these in my mind with full, firm intention, I said the brain and the body and the spirit will not know the difference between actually going out there and doing it in the world and just meticulously and systematically going through every single thing mentally, visually, right? I didn't know that I was doing high level astral incantation, and I said, I don't even know how to read Hebrew. I don't even know what these barbarous names sound like. And it struck me that none of that mattered. The only thing that mattered was the magician's will and your intention to do magic. And I thought, if magic is real, and I believe it is real, then these things should be able to occur if I go through the procedures mentally and use will alone, right? And then it grokked, it clicked. And I opened that book and I said, I want to do this spell right here. And I went through it and I read it and I memorized it. And I sat down in meditation and I did the entire thing over and over and over again in my mind for like, I don't know, several, I don't know, an hour maybe. I had pretty good discipline as a kid in meditation and shit. And some kind of golden light appeared in my mind, right? And the book was even illuminated. I could see the book glowing, and I thought, "Ooh, is this book with gold foil?" And no, it wasn't. There, the golden light appeared, and I knew that the magic was complete. And once the magic was complete, I was able to and maybe it was the golden hour, maybe it was dawn, maybe it was sunset, I don't know, but there was golden light everywhere. And I gave great thanks. And I thought, that's it right there. The magic worked. Now, it took about 2 or 3 days, but that golden light appeared again. I think it was like either 2 or 3 days later. And I was like, uh-oh, that spell has returned. And I knew that the spell I had cast was calling to me. And so I grabbed myself like, I don't know, a moose head or something. And I said, it's fucking party time. And I threw back a beer and I jumped out my window and I started roaming, following pure cosmic winds. I felt fate leading me to the result of my incantation, and it guided me straight to it. I'm not going to tell you guys the exact story because I've told it before, and it's way too much fun for YouTube first thing in the morning when I got to get in and go to do work. But man, it happened, and it happened big time, and it was so badass that it sealed the deal for me. I knew that I was God's child, and we all are. But I knew that magic was real, and I knew that you didn't have to do any of those things. You didn't have to make sigils or wear robes or do incantations. And this was long before the days of chaos magic. I mean, it was probably right around the time of chaos magic, but I didn't know anything about any of those other guys. I knew about the Church of Discordia. I knew about Dr. Bob, but I knew very little, and that was one of my first magical grimoires. Was A.E. Wyatt's. It was already 100 years old, nearly, and the Book of Black Magic. And it wasn't, people hear black magic and they're pulling out their hair. They're like, "Oh my God, Frank Monday! How dare you do black magic? Beg God for forgiveness on your knees, you fool!" And it's like, no, man, it's nothing like that. You don't understand it. It's all done with God's consent. It's done in service to the glory of God. I find it funny when expensive ass cuisines advertise. It's like $9, like $10 per pack. Yeah, is that right? I've never bought any gold foil. I should though. Um, they say you take like a single gram of gold and stretch it out to a meter square, or maybe it's even less than that. I don't remember, but I watched a YouTube short or uh, a TikTok video or something, and some metallurgic dude hammered it out, and he's like, the docility of gold is just that's why it's so valuable. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, man. Thanks for joining me. I love y'all, good-looking sex people. Have fun out there in Happy Land. Enjoy your full moon. Good to see you, Owen, man. Get back on the road to recovery. Don't fucking let that spirit in the bottle take advantage of you, man. You're the master in charge. You're the king in the throne. Not that old fucking bottle of whiskey, man. That's your servant. Never let the servant usurp the master. You know, all of these things are in service to the greater glory. Good to see you, Russian lad. Long time no see. Thank you for commenting on that video the other day, Russian lad. I love when you guys do that. Mary, Owen, Owen, it was awesome to get in there and talk to you about the soccer field out here. I wish you would have taken me up on my offer, man, Owen, and come over here and be an English teacher. We still need English teachers. I mean, you'd have a lot more fun hanging out here in the dormitory with me every day and, kicking around the football with a bunch of little Chinese high school kids and making real money, bro, that you can pocket away, that you can sock away, and not have to spend because you'd have your room and board covered plus your food. And we could even occasionally go on a drunk bender and chase around all the cleaning ladies and shit. Very rarely though, once a semester or something around like right now, around finals time when all the work is done. And that's an open offer, man, to anybody that ever thinks they might want to take a break from their current life and come to a mystical land of magic where the old wizard Frank Monday whittles away at the time of wandering wayfarers. Yeah, I don't know what to say, man. That offer's out there to anybody that wants it. Just send me an email, especially if it's someone I know. Uh, Happy 4th of July to everyone, man. Glorious freedom for those that are involved in the spirit of 1776. Again, Russian Lad, Mary Moon, good to see all of you guys. I will have fun at work. I need to get in there and change the grease in my hair. Think today's a day of great freedom though, man. They're all taking their finals today. I'm just invigilating a couple of tests, and other than that, man, I gotta get the tests back and compile their grades, and we're done for the semester, man. We officially still have 2 weeks of work, but I mean that's just hanging around and party time with the kids, chilling like a villain. I love y'all, good looking sex people. Stay well. Spirit of 1776 for 4th of July, everyone. Check me out on www.buymeacoffee. Please hit the thumbs up, guys. Come back later, leave a comment on the video. And as we wander into the abodes of the future, keep doing good magic. Until next time, kisses.